You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Welcome into another edition of Inside Automotive. Volkswagen's Scout Motors is raising concerns after announcing that they will sell their Terra pickup and Traveler SUV directly to consumers. And NADA and state associations are pushing back, as they should. Joining us now to share their thoughts on this is Mike Stanton, the CEO and president of NADA, and John Devlin, president of the Pennsylvania Automobile Dealers Association, and also the chairman for 2024 of the Automotive Trade Association Executives. So gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Mike, could you share more about what legal or legislative steps might be taken on how NADA is working with state associations on this, which, by the way, thank you for spending some time with us here at CBT News.
Oh, no, thanks for having us. One thing I want to make very clear to your viewers is that NADA is working side by side with the state and metro dealer associations. We're going to challenge this. It's been on our radar for nearly 3 years, and it is definitely a top priority. And we're not going to go into legal strategies. That's just something that is not advisable. But sure. I do want to point out, and I know you know this, but you take a step back. There are over 600 VW dealers in this country. Mm-hmm. There are over 300 Audi, over 200 Porsche. To be exact, that's 1,146 dealers in this country. Yeah. Dealers that have carried VW,
That's right.
Audi.
That's right.
Through very difficult times.
That's right.
Remember Dieselgate?
That's right.
Yeah. VW's been around for 75 years.
Yeah.
Audi for 50, Porsche 40. This has been a long-standing relationship. And, it's not deja vu. This is very, very different in that Scout is part of an international powerhouse, Volkswagen AG.
Yeah.
Okay, very, very different. And they are funded by this corporation. They decided to compete with its own partners, mm-hmm. most of which are still family-owned and operated businesses. And if you think about the family aspect of this, even with the Publix and some of the larger groups, they still employ over 1 million people collectively that these jobs provide for those families. Okay, we did some quick math. Over 50,000 people in this country work for Audi, VW, and Porsche dealers.
Wow.
So I want your viewers to know with no uncertainty that we, NADA and the Metro and State Dealer Associations, we're going to fight for these dealers. We're going to fight for their families.
Mm-hmm. So, John, let me ask you, we talked to you after the ATAEs took out a full-page ad in Automotive News. What was your first reaction to hearing this recent decision from VW or Scout?
Kind of interestingly enough, we just finished a NADA board meeting in which I had to give a report, and part of my report was, what we kind of knew was coming. This is not really a shock. It's disappointing.
Yeah.
But because of the lack of communication, and I give Mike credit, they've tried every which way they could to reach out to them to get them to tell them what was going on.
Right.
And they wouldn't. And that silence did say something. So we kind of knew this was coming.
Yeah.
I really felt like they could change course, but with them not reaching back out to us, we knew it was coming. So, and we talked about it just a day before they announced it. So we're kind of ready for this to happen.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but we're going to take it on.
Yeah. Why do you think, John, that they've made this decision to go in this direction?
Well, I think it's incredibly misguided from a bunch of different directions. Give credit to Mike's group for doing this study recently, mm-hmm. and they didn't have the study 3 years ago to understand the value of the franchise system that NADA commissioned through Oliver Wyman. I hate to take some of Mike's fireworks here, but I mean that.
No, we've talked about it here. Yeah, last time I had Mike on, it's incredible.
So that in itself is something they didn't know 3 years ago. I don't know if they're so caught up in this planning from 3 years ago that they almost can't pivot and figure out things have changed somewhat. And we have other studies too that show the value that the interbrand competition through franchise dealers all the good things that are really good for the consumer too.
Right.
Service is huge.
Right.
I can't imagine. Mike mentioned all these dealers. You already have all this infrastructure set up with brick and mortar and service. So for them to go reinvent that, also why they're having a lot of financial issues, which, a lot of OEMs are. It's tough business right now.
That's right.
But to start over again, I'm really curious how somebody got that through a board meeting and said, this is a great way to go. The customer experience at our dealers is great. They have great service. And a lot of these direct sellers, if they have an Achilles heel, it's service.
Yeah.
It's not been good for years.
Yeah, that's right. Mike, how could VW's direct-to-consumer sales approach on this affect its existing U.S. dealers? And it's obviously not VW, but it's Scout.
Yeah, one of our missions here at NADA is to advocate for dealers, and we do that with manufacturers, and we bring them the results of the dealer attitude survey in a very transparent and constructive way. And what we're seeing here with the VW AG, the VW Group, is a pattern of a lack of transparency. Mm-hmm. Again, I go back to Dieselgate and what they did back, I think it was 2015. The fact that they wouldn't even engage. We've reached out for 2.5 years now. I have had one face-to-face with Scott, actually a couple face-to-faces with Scott, and I understand that he wasn't going to spill any news with me.
Yeah.
But the lack of transparency to not even give the VW council, the Audi council, the Porsche dealers a heads up on what their plans were, I think it speaks volumes.
Yeah. John, what's your message to VW and other manufacturers who may be considering similar direct-to-consumer approaches as we sit here today?
Well, I think for them right now, they still do have time to pivot, and they've really got to think about this. I don't know all laws in every 50 state. I can tell you that I'm pretty familiar with the states that surround us and Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to be able to get a license the way the laws are written. They can't get licensed in most of the states, if not all the states around us. And we also have, many of us have other language in there beyond manufacturing being prohibited on affiliate or controlling interest that addresses some of these concerns that we had with any legacy company coming in and trying to say, well, and Volkswagen's doing this. Oh, this is a separate company. Well, it's wholly owned, or they have controlling interest. I'm not sure how it's set up, but we know they control it. And why wouldn't they? They don't want to set up a competitor and not.
Right. It sounds like they're playing a little bit of a shell game here, or a big shell game.
Let's think about it. Let's say they theoretically set up across the street from one of their own dealers.
Yep.
What are they doing? Trying to get sales there and out of their own dealers? It doesn't make any logical sense. That's right. It's very frustrating to understand. But to answer your question, I think they still can pivot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and hopefully they do. But, this is so basic. Trust is important in any relationship. And now they've decided to take on what is going to be a significant challenge from the NADA and others. They're going to have a real challenge with their existing dealer network.
Right.
They have shattered that trust.
Yeah.
Absolutely shattered it. I mean, for years, VW dealers have asked for specific models to complement their portfolio that were built for the American market. And I have the quote somewhere. I might get this not 100% right, but they're talking about going back to a great American brand. American pride. It's like rubbing salt in the wound, and the dealers are on fire about this. So not only are they going to have to deal with the challenges we've talked about, I don't know how you go back and rebuild trust with your dealer network, which is more important. It's always important. It's more important than ever right now when you think about this. I'll call it a path. I don't know what that path looks like. I don't think any of us do right now to EVs and the major investments that the manufacturers are making. They're asking their dealers to make. We need to trust each other going forward, and we have a wonderful relationship with most of our manufacturers. Yeah. And this has just snapped it right in half.
Yep, for sure. for sure.
with VW and Audi, and the implications are potentially for the whole industry.
Yeah.
And that's an important point as well.
That's right.
Everybody's watching.
It seems so crazy to me because, as you know, on day one, if you've got a network of 300 or 400 Scout dealers, these Audi and Volkswagen dealers and Porsche dealers that want to become dealers immediately, right? I mean, there's not a dealer out there that probably wouldn't raise their hand and say, yeah, I'll take that line on and make a commitment with a lot or a showroom or whatever the case might be. From on day one, they could sell literally thousands of these vehicles and have a representation in some of the biggest cities in the country. It just makes no sense to me that they're going down this road, right?
Yeah, and I think one of their challenges too is we get back into like service. The idea that how many cars are they going to produce? Well, they don't know. No one does. But you do have to build out your infrastructure that way with some knowledge. But if they use their existing dealers, that wouldn't even be a concern. They could focus on building those vehicles and not worry about, how many dealers do we need or how much service should we have to have? I used this example in Automotive News the other day when they interviewed both of us.
Yeah.
We have safety inspection in our state. Are they ready to do, if somebody buys them and they move into the state with that car, every year they've got to be safety inspected. And I think there's at least 15 states like that.
That's right.
They won't have the infrastructure to do that. And who are they going to look for to do that? Or who is the customer going to look for? Probably the dealer.
That's right.
So many sorry, John, to jump in. So many people underestimated just the difficulty of retail in this country. I mean, look at what GM and Ford did back in the late 90s and buying up some stores. They backed out of that quickly. You look at some of our own manufacturer partners. Everybody went a little crazy during the COVID era, but they certainly have pivoted back to talking about their dealers as a value, as they should, and we have the data, to prove it.
That's right.
Others like VinFast, we're seeing a pivot back not only to what makes sense in terms of just. In terms of, well, I've got to do all this stuff to make a quality product. How do I sell it? How do I service it?
Yep.
But you also, it's a value add. It is not a cost. The dealer is not a middleman.
That's right.
In any way, shape, or form. They are value added resellers in the new car department, and they handle so much more to customize every transaction. As I've said before, buying a car is not like buying a tube of toothpaste on Amazon. You don't trade in your toothpaste. You don't finance your toothpaste. There are a lot of different aspects to this, and it's the franchise system is best positioned to take care of this, and that's been proven time and time again. Many have tried, many have failed.
That's right. That's right, Mike. And I'll leave this with you, but you've got obviously 16,500 members of NADA all over the country that are watching this. Obviously, the vast majority are not Volkswagen, Porsche, or Audi dealers, but they have a stake in this too, because this hurts all of us in the industry. What message do you want to leave them with? What can they do, I should say, or what do you want them to do to help your efforts there in DC and other parts of the country to fight this?
Yeah, right now, as I think I mentioned before, I just want, again, your viewers and the dealers to know that this is a top priority for the NADA. And our relationship with ATAE, the State and Metro Dealers Associations, is always the top priority. And we're locked, on working on this together. So know that we're in the fight. Know that we're not going to be able to talk a lot about the fight because you can't, or it'd be silly to make your strategies known publicly. So we've got their back. I want first to let them know that. And then, of course, stay engaged with NADA, not necessarily on this topic. As you could probably tell from the tone that John and I are speaking with, we get it. We get it. Our board gets it. But just stay engaged, as always, with NADA and with your state and metro associations, because things are changing. They're going to continue to change. We got a great story to tell. Let's tell it. We all need to tell it together.
Yeah. No question about it. Mike Stanton, CEO and President of the NADA, and John Devlin, President of the Pennsylvania Automobile Dealers Association and the Trade Association, the Automotive Trade Association Executives 2024 Chairman. So the two guys that can make this make the waves that we need to make out there on this very, very important issue. So thank you both for joining me on CBT News. I know that this means a lot to the viewers out there, the dealers out there that are also watching this issue. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.